Hi, NewLight Singers and Orchestra, and Dan and Ruth Basher. My name is Kim Schmidt. Back in the day, I was Kim Colbert. You guys raised me on the summers of 89 and 91. I honestly think of NewLight almost every day, whether it's trying to direct a choir just like Dan did, or smiling at annoying students just like Ruth would do, I think every day. So sweet. You guys were a blessing. I think of you as a major part of my life. And a couple things that stick with me. One, I learned the very important tip of righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. I honestly use that almost every day, whether it's in the garden, turning off the faucet, or trying to open a can in the kitchen. The other things I learned were, one time I was sitting in a church, one of our performance places, and I was just crying for no reason. And Dan came in and he was talking to me and he's like, you know what? It's okay to cry, and some people are just criers. My wife, Ruth, is a crier, and it just helps. And so don't get down on yourself. You're a crier. And so that has helped me, I don't know how many times through my life. What's it been, 30 some years? Yikes. I'm now a teacher in the Central Coast of California. I miss you guys. I wish I could be there. Love ya.
Hi, I'm Don Mordecai. I went on the East Tour in 1985. Today, my family and I live in Norton, Kansas, which is in the northwest part of the state. Before NewLight Singers and Orchestra, I had not yet met my wife, Cindy. No career was chosen at that time, but I was planning on teaching. I was a Christian, and I grew a lot on tour. God did have a plan for me and my future wife. The experience I had in NewLight, both musically and spiritually, proved very beneficial. I met Cindy, and after a few years, we were married. We both love Jesus. We have 3 biological daughters and 1 adopted son. They're all 100% ours. I spent my career teaching children music using band instruments. It was such a fantastic way to live. My own kids grew up singing and playing instruments. We had a family singing group at one time. Now that season has passed, but we will forever remember those times together, sharing God's love with others. According to God's plan, my 4 children all have a personal relationship with Jesus. And with that, I'm very happy. Dan, you taught me a lot about how to motivate kids, when to stop working, which is basically never. When is it good enough? Never. There's always something to fix. And just when you think you're done for the day, you got to go out and get under the bus and work on that. Also, wrap your cords the right way. Things I remember about NewLight: Neil keeps puppetry, my mic partners having mints ready for me for every performance, ham sandwiches, getting stung by a jellyfish and nobody believing me, then heading to the bus, and there was Dan. Thanks, Dan. He got me the help I needed. Bible study and quiet time meant a lot on tour, and it's something special that I've continued to do throughout my life. I also felt God's presence in music, and that's been an important thing in my life. We all experienced the loss of a friend that year. We'll always remember Esther, and can't wait to see her again. Thanks, Dan, for all you put into NewLight Singers and Orchestra. I'm glad Heidi decided to do this. It will be great to see all those that can attend, and we'll be praying for everyone that's been involved over the years. Thank you so much.
Hello, Dan and Ruth. My name is Leanne Hallett. You would have known me as Leanne Johnson back in the day. As I've been thinking about NewLight Singers and Orchestra and some of the things that stand out to me over the years and over time, some of them include learning to share the gospel without fear, learning the art of being a gracious guest when we stayed in host homes while we were on tour, and learning to work with others while preparing for each of our concerts, including our setup and teardown responsibilities. Some of my favorite things about tour include singing in churches in various locations throughout the country and being accompanied by a live orchestra. That's one of my favorite things. Also, learning how to play the part of grandma with the puppets and doing sign language for the invitation and a couple of songs while on tour. Some of the funny things I remember include sweat dripping down my face and down my back from myself and also from my mic mates, the bus breaking down, and eating a lot of ham and cheese sandwiches, and especially pimento cheese sandwiches, which I had never had prior to tour. So those were some of the things that I thought of. I'm so grateful for all of the experiences that I had while I was on tour, and I'm thankful for you, Dan and Ruth, for pouring into so many of our lives and preparing us for a lifetime of ministry. Your ministry has not been gone unnoticed, and I'm so thankful for you. I have continued my ministry in worship music throughout my life and have attributed a lot of those experiences and the training behind it to NewLight Singers and Orchestra. Thank you so much for your service and your ministry.
Hi, this is Danny Curvin from Sunny Daisy, Tennessee. See, I really can do that without Kimberly Cool and Jennifer Main pushing my cheeks together as we try to share a microphone. I was on the South Tour in 1989 after my senior year of high school. After that, I went to college at Jacksonville State University in the great state of Alabama. Graduated in December of 93. Then in 1994, April of 94, I had a spinal cord injury, and I spent the next 2 years as I was going through rehab, getting as strong as I could, and trying to become as independent as I could. Then I went to work as a medical social worker, and I did that for 25 years. I got married in 2000, and we still live in Sunny Daisy, Tennessee. What helped me get through my spinal cord injury was 4 things. 1, God, of course. 2, my family and friends and support system. 3, a book that I read in college called How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything, Yes, Anything. And then a song from NewLight called Keep Pressing On. And the words go like this. I'm going to keep pressing on, believing I can be strong. And when I don't understand, I learn to trust in His plan for me. So NewLight was a big piece in the rest of my life. And to the Basher family and to our extended NewLight family, thank you very much for everything. I think of y'all often, and I would love to see a NewLight reunion in Loveland, Colorado East, which is better known as Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It's great to hear from you guys, and I hope y'all have a great time at the reunion. God bless.
Hi, my name is Shelley Chidas. Some of you may know me as Shelley Floyd. I was on the 1988 West Tour. Just to hear 1988 makes me feel very old. I'm so sorry, but unfortunately, I'm not able to join you in person. Leaving my home family and embracing my tour family came very quickly. It was one of the most rewarding summers of my life. There was memories made, like the time on the bus when Jerome tried to see how many grapes he could fit in his mouth. It was quite funny. I was able to go through my hometown of Phoenix, Arizona, and see my family. And we went swimming, which was fun, especially as hot as it was in the summer. Playing Frisbee on one of our free days in Idaho in a park. Wonderful talks on the nights with our host families. So many inspirational and impactful experiences. I am glad I had the opportunity to learn and grow that summer. My advice would be to always take the chance to step out of your comfort zone. God uses those opportunities for you to grow. Thanks so much, and I hope you guys have a great reunion.
Hi, my name is George Rangel, and I played the violin on the 1988 and 1989 tours. Some of the most treasured memories from tour don't come from the churches we performed at or the landmarks we visited. They came from the quieter, more personal moments shared with host families and friends in unfamiliar places that soon felt like home. Every city we visited had its own character, but what made each stop truly unforgettable were the families who welcomed us into their homes. Their generosity, warmth, and interest in our journey turned strangers into family. From the homemade dinners that brought comfort along long travel days to the thoughtful conversations that bridged our different backgrounds, our hosts gave us more than a place to sleep. They gave us belonging. Whether it was a backyard barbecue in a small town, a scenic morning coffee on a deck overlooking the hills, or a late-night chat in a cozy kitchen, each moment was a reminder of the kindness people are capable of. The host locations themselves were magical in their own right. Some were quiet suburbs where the stars shone brighter than we'd ever seen. Others were lively cities full of energy and discovery. Each location offered something unique. And through it all, it was the time spent together that tied everything. Tour brought us closer than we ever could have imagined. Long bus rides turned into deep talks and uncontrollable laughter. Late nights became opportunities for storytelling, reflection, and connection. We learned to rely on each other, to share the highs and the lows, and to celebrate the little things. Whether we were rehearsing, performing, sightseeing, or just resting, we were always together, and that togetherness made everything better. Looking back, it wasn't just about the destinations or the itinerary. It was about the people, the families who opened their doors to us, the friends who stood by us, the countless moments of joy, discovery, and connection that made this tour unforgettable. I want to add to this by thanking Dan and Ruth. Thank you for creating the tour, for building something that was more than just a trip. It was a life-changing experience. Personally, I thank you for taking the chance on this kid who would never imagine that he'd leave his hometown, let alone be part of something so incredible. You opened a door I didn't even know existed, and walking through it changed my life. So again, thank you, Dan and Ruth, for the vision, for the heart, and for letting me be part of something that has changed me.
Hi, everybody. I am so gutted that I couldn't be there for this reunion, but I decided that I'd wear the colors, and I couldn't find any shoes, the color of our shoes that summer, so socks will have to do it. But I hope you all are having a wonderful time, and hello to everybody who was on the 86 tour west. I'd like to say thank you. Thank you, Ruth, Heidi, and Josh for supporting and sacrificing to help make NewLight possible. Dan, thank you for having the vision for NewLight and all of the work arranging orchestrations and preparing for us to go into churches and homes where people might not have known the Lord as their Savior. While I only toured one summer in '86, one of 4 from our church that year, the impact on the rest of my life is ongoing. When I tried out at Pleasant View Baptist Church in 1985, I desperately wanted to be one of the singers, but you placed me in the orchestra on the flute. That was a baptism of fire. I had never heard of a flutter tongue, let alone played one, yet Goliath has always been one of my favorite songs. Dan, I remember one of the first days at rehearsal camp when you stopped us and you got emotional because what we played was exactly what you had imagined in your mind when you orchestrated it. An indication of how intense rehearsal camp was for me was reported by my roommate, Brenda Nelson, one morning towards the end of the first week. We woke up and she informed me that I had been playing my flute in my sleep. The instructions regarding leaving hair in the bathroom struck fear in my heart when our hosts got the chickenpox and we had to transfer to your house. I was so paranoid that I would miss a stray hair in your bathroom. The question we were taught to open a door for the gospel, how long have you known the Lord, has been one that I've used many, many times over the years. In addition to evangelistic opportunities, it was a question I used to weed out men on Christian dating sites. You know, the first hour of travel being a spiritual quiet time, that was such a blessing. It was one of the first times I had had a consistent quiet time in my life. I was assigned light cables for my concert duties, a skill that has been very useful over the years because I went on to be the part of many musical traveling recruitment teams for Mission University, formerly known as Baptist Bible College, Springfield, Missouri. I spent a total of 7 years throughout both my undergrad and as a professor of voice there, working with the traveling groups. Even though I still didn't get to be a singer in any of the groups, I was the pianist. I've made lifelong friends on the tour with NewLight. Julie Prophet and I ended up rooming together our freshman and senior years at Baptist Bible College, Mission University. The actual concerts are a bit of a blur, with the exception of Canyon City, Colorado, in the theater, and our outdoor concert. And I can't remember where that was. But the Canyon City concert was the first time I had really encountered the extreme darkness of a satanic attack. We prayed before very fervently, and throughout the concert, I continued praying with a fervency I had never experienced before. The darkness was tangible. God got us through that. We carried on throughout the summer, and close to the end, our outdoor concert was interesting because of the weather, being windy, and our host, but more about that later. One of the church buildings that stands out in my mind is Seattle, Washington, because it had an elevator. That was so cool. The experiences that are most prominent in my memory are host homes. From staying in a house in Arizona where the church had split and the couple took more people than they had originally planned. I think there were boys and girls together on this occasion. We literally made a bed that night in their spare bedroom, which had a disassembled bed waiting to be put together. I'm not quite sure why. But staying there and at the motel that was owned by one of the church members in Palm Springs, staying with a family with 10 kids, the oldest 5 staying in a bunkhouse away from the main residence where we ended up staying. And the residents had a pool, but of course we didn't have time to use the pool because we had to get up early and get going the next morning. So when it was your turn to meet the hosts, you would wait with bated breath, hoping for the one that had a nice smile or who looked really kind. The outdoor concert had been arranged by a group of churches, so there were a lot of different people who were hosts that night. One was a middle-aged, grizzly-bearded man that looked a little bit like a biker, a bit scary. I saw him in the crowd of hosts and kept praying and hoping that he wasn't our host. I was like, dear Lord, please don't let him be our host. Please, God, let him be our host. Surely not, because we were a group of girls. One by one, the groups went with their hosts until it was just me and another NewLighter left with 2 hosts, and the bearded man was one of them. You guessed it. The other group didn't go with him. I felt a bit anxious throughout the whole host's stay. We never did meet his wife, who worked at a camp nearby. He had a full-size Olympic iron weight set in the garage. Oops, I almost, sorry, mispronounced that in the un-American way, in the garage, and several books on the bookshelves about sex. I remember that because Margot had made a comment at another house that you can learn a lot about a person by looking at the books on their bookshelf. Well, that was a little worrying. So at one point, I considered calling Diane, but I didn't. If I remember right, despite his rough exterior, he was one of the pastors who had arranged the concert. Needless to say, as I'm telling you about it today, almost 30 years later, we made it through the night and were returned to the group safe and sound. Lunches. The lunches that we got were always interesting, and you never knew quite what you were going to get. I had my first chutney and my first kohlrabi while I was on tour with NewLight Singers and Orchestra. And there's just so much to talk about. I am just kind of highlighting bits and pieces here and there. Our days off were highlights as well, with San Francisco being the most memorable. We had a blast, even though it was so cold for a summer's day. I almost forgot the demise of Barnabas while we were on our last leg of the tour. Traveling in the school bus, I really don't remember as much, except Julie Prophet becoming so ill because she used to use the bathroom on Barnabas all the time. And of course, she didn't have that opportunity on the school bus. It was the first time I'd seen a person actually turn green. Bless her heart. After the tour, I finished high school, got a bachelor's degree in elementary education with a minor in music, taught English and music and choir for 3 years, then went back to get a bachelor's in church music. I was hired by Baptist Bible College Mission University to be a voice teacher while still finishing my second bachelor's degree, and ended up getting my master's in vocal performance. I taught at Mission University for 7 years, was still single. While there, God brought a British couple to the seminary, and they became members of my church. They approached me because God laid me on their heart to help them start a church in England, just an hour north of London. So I went for a summer to help them get the church started, but felt that God wanted me here permanently. God provided a job for me at a school with a Christian ethos, and I've been here helping lead worship at Hope Baptist Church and teaching music to children with additional needs for 21 years. It was such a surprise and a blessing to run into Dan, Ruth, and Heidi at the last GMA in the Rockies several years back. What a great reunion. Speaking of reunions, I really do wish that I could be there, but we're still in school until the middle of July. God is so good, and I am so thankful for the spiritual, musical, and touring experience I received as part of NewLight. And you know, I completely forgot to tell you about my husband, the one that I asked the question, "How long have you known the Lord?" on a dating site, and he answered, 20 years, and then proceeded to tell me how he became a Christian. We've been married for 2 years now, and I'm just so thankful for everything that God did and how God used NewLight in my life and continues to use NewLight in my life. So thanks again, Dan, Ruth, Heidi, and Josh. Love you all and wish I could be with you. God bless.
Hey, it's Jeff Wisely here. I was asked by Heidi to tell kind of a funny story of something that happened on tour. Back in 1989, I was on tour, and the story kind of goes like this. We were at a church somewhere in the Carolinas, North Carolina, I believe, at a church. Been on tour for a couple of weeks. And as noted, things got kind of tension between each other and just not getting along in general. And things weren't going as smooth as they should. So we got to this church out there, and we were all on the bus. And Dan, you left the bus for just a few minutes. You came back on the bus with a sack, a paper sack, brown paper sack, and walked down the aisle of the bus and told every one of us kids to grab the first thing you felt when you put your hand in the bag, and grab it and pull it out. And so we did that, and what you had in the bag was a sack full of squirt guns. This here is the original squirt gun that I grabbed from that bag in 1989. Believe it or not, I held on to it for all these years because it was such a good memory of you allowing us kids to take our frustrations out on each other during tour time, and try to level us out and get us back on track on what our purpose was and what we're supposed to do. So everyone on the bus got a squirt gun similar to this, and you said, "Look over there at the church, at the corner there. There's a water spigot. You get off this bus and you run over to that water spigot, and you fill your squirt gun up with water, and you guys all have war." And we did. We had a great time, just squirting each other. Of course, the gun would go empty and we'd have to go fill it up with water again. But we had a blast just, sharing that moment of getting rid of some tension and, calming us down. It was a good time. It was a great idea. It was a fun time. And I always remember that. And, I saved the original squirt gun from that memory. And, hey, I just wanted to share it with you.
Hello, it's Carly Bateman Roberts, and I am actually in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and just wanted to say that Dan and Ruth Basher and NewLight Singers were the first ones that helped me get to New York City, and actually really many states around the U.S., and so that's probably my most cherished thing. Also, the music, the people. My favorite memory is one day that I was late and I had to carry my large suitcase on my lap inside the bus for a couple hours to learn my lesson not to be late. Anyway, I'm so thankful for you, Dan and Ruth, and your family for your commitment and your sacrifice. I love you guys, and I'm so excited to see you. Bye.
Hey, Sean Allison. I toured during the 85 and 86 summer seasons. And when Heidi asked me to do this video, I really struggled with remembering. I don't have a lot of memories of tour. Looking back in that time in my life, it was very overwhelming. My family life was not very healthy. My church life even more dysfunctional. And so I spent a lot of my time shut down and kind of isolated emotionally, spiritually. And I think if I were to use one word that you provided was an intervention. You provided structure and good practices around my spirituality and my devotions with God. I am really blessed by how life has intervened in such specific ways in my life. How God appears in mysterious and very specific ways to bless each other by what we hold in each other. The sacrifice, the service, blessing each other with our gifts and talents. This was really a springboard to my life and ministry. I really am grateful for the time that I had with my NewLight family. And I'm sure that more memories will surface. I definitely remember frozen underwear and ways to purchase my belongings back that I have left along the road. Still do, by the way. I am 26 years into traveling around the country doing window cleaning and my ministry for Christ. And before that, I spent 20 years working with people with autism. So a life of service is what you birthed in me. And I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you for your leadership. Thank you for providing a structure and reinforcing with practical ways to love, to serve, and to sacrifice. Many blessings to you. I don't know if I will be there in person, but my prayers and my love is surrounding all of you during this time of celebration. Thank you.
The opportunity that the New Light Singers and Orchestra gave me was a life-changing experience. Having the opportunity to witness through music and plant seeds of God in people's hearts was amazing. Many friendships were made, and I would not change this for the world. There was nothing better than hearing "How Excellent Is Thy Name." Hearing that song still to this day makes my heart so happy. Thank you, Basher family, for sacrificing everything you did to make this possible. Joy Hein.
Hello, Dan and Ruth and the entire New Light family. Greetings from Seattle, Washington. This is Scott Steele. I was from Greeley, Colorado. I played the electric bass on the 1985 Eastern Tour and the 1986 Western Tour. And I now have been married to my lovely wife Dana for 37 years. We have 3 kids. We have 7 grandkids. Who would have thunk? I was also known as the Beach Man. Heidi asked us if we had any memories to share or stories or anything like that. And, several come to mind for me. My job, as we all had jobs, was to load the luggage bay under the bus every time we needed luggage put in and taken out. So, this is the Bean story. Possibly on more than one occasion, some of the New Light participants would get their luggage and take it home to their host families' houses and open them up, and they would find their suitcases filled with not just clothes, but beans and rice or macaroni or popcorn or anything like that. Just a mess. I know. I was bad. Now, I don't know if I should tell this story or not. I call this story Melissa Odell and the Yellow Highlighter Incident. As most of you who were on those tours know, I was kind of a prankster on those tours. And when people fell asleep on the buses, that was fair game for me. I'm sorry. Well, anyway, Melissa Odell fell asleep on the bus one time. And at this time of year, they had come out with these yellow highlighters that had the yellow chisel tip on one end and a same chisel tip that was white on the other end that was erasable. So you could highlight on one end, flip it over, and erase it on the other end. Well, Melissa made the mistake of falling asleep on the bus. So I took the liberty of taking the yellow highlighter and just all over her face. And she finally woke up, and everybody was laughing.
And she was horrified at what had happened. And I said, no, don't wait, it's okay, it's okay. And I took the yellow highlighter and I went on my skin and wrote the yellow, and I said, see, now watch. And I turned it over and did the erasing part. And I said, see, it comes right off. I said, I'll erase it off your face, okay? And she said, okay. So I took the white end and I went over to her face, and just as I got up here where she couldn't see, I flipped it over to the yellow and I started marking more yellow everywhere. She thought, how much did you do on my face? Oh, we had a lot, Melissa, we had a lot. And just kept marking yellow. By the time we were done, she looked like a neon lemon. The last story is what I call the goldfish story. On the 86 Western tour, the drummer, his name was Scott Adams, and so there was two Scotts who were pranksters. And our bus was parked beside a grocery store this one time, and we decided to go into the grocery store and see what was in there. And so we got in there and we found some goldfish. Not the crackers, actual goldfish. And so we had this brilliant idea that we would buy some of these goldfish. And so we got the bags full of water and bought a couple of these goldfish and took them on the bus. We didn't know what we were going to do with them, but we took them on the bus and we thought it was hysterical. Well, then I got to thinking, and I thought, I know what we can do with these. And so we went into the bathroom of the bus and plugged up the sink and poured these goldfish into the sink. So they were swimming around in the sink on the bus. We thought this was just the most hilarious thing ever. And so we just shut the door and sat back and waited for events to take place, which they did. Not long after we bought these goldfish, we got on the road. And pretty soon, one of the singers, it became apparent that she was not feeling well. In fact, she was not feeling so well that she was looking green in the face, like she was going to, yeah, you know what I mean. So she went into the bathroom thinking she could just go there and use the sink. But to her total desperation, what was there? Goldfish! So she didn't get to use the sink. I'm not exactly sure what happened in there, but she was not happy. Needless to say, the leadership at that time were not very happy with me and my pranks. They were kind of tired of it, so asked me in a polite way to cool it. And I did. My time with NewLight played a pivotal role in my musical journey. I went on to go to college and get a degree in music theater, and then went on to get an MA in theater. And here is a glimpse of what my musical journey has come down to.
Do you know the Muffin Man? Oh, do you know the Muffin Man? Oh, do you know the Muffin Man?
So, congratulations, Dan and Ruth, for all the years that you spent with NewLight in putting this whole thing together and changing the lives of so many people in the singers and orchestra, as well as out there in the world. And we just are so grateful that you've been a part of our lives. And I thank Heidi for putting this video together, and all the people that have put their hearts into it as well. She spent hours and hours and hours putting this together, and I just thank her so much for doing that. I just wanted to sign off with one last thing. It's from the words of Dan Basher himself, sort of. Dan, if you don't enjoy this video, you will be sent home at your own expense. God bless y'all. All right.
Hi, NewLight family. This is Sherry Woodworth-Borg coming to you from the beautiful countryside of northern Indiana. I was on tours 82 and 83 and just have so many wonderful memories from those times, and still have friends today from those tours that I talk to regularly and treasure so much. Some memories that really stand out for me, some of the amazing host families I stayed with, from a Mary Kay consultant director whose mansion was hanging off the side of a cliff in California, to Dan baptizing a group of us, myself included, in the Pacific Ocean. That was very, very meaningful to me. Ruth, getting to stay with some of your relatives in the Moline, Illinois area, your farming community, farm family there. That was very special to me, coming from a farm community myself. And in one of the Dakotas, I got to stay on an Air Force base. And after the concert, we were crawling around a B-52 bomber, if you can believe that. That was in for repairs on the base. So that was really awesome. And just, again, so many moments of mentorship and life lessons that I really did take with me into college and adulthood, my education career, and then starting my family. I treasure so much of what you gave us during those times. And I thank you, Dan and Ruth, and Josh and Heidi, for all the sacrifices you made as a family. It was truly a calling, and I, amongst many others, I'm sure, benefited greatly from all you did. So thank you so much.
Hey there, it's Neil Keep, the token Canadian from the 1985 Eastern Tour. How are you all doing? I'd say it's good to see you, but I can't. I'm a video. Oh well. Hey, obviously you're thinking, wow, did he get old? Well, I'm not 23 anymore. I'm 63. That's 40 years since the tour. That's a long time. A lot has happened, and I'll admit a lot of it was good. So Heidi asked if I would be interested in sharing a little bit about my life, and how things have gone for the past 40 years, what I'm up to now, what I've done musically with myself. And so here goes. I'm going to refer to my notes because I've got ADHD. It's so easy for me to go down a rabbit trail. So bear with me. Oh, yeah. Okay. So at first I was kind of surprised at all the little tiny towns and little tiny churches we were going to. And I asked Dan, I say, hey, Dan, why don't we go to the bigger churches? That would be more fun. And he said that the bigger churches were more likely to be overserved and even, weary of hosting group after group. And I had no idea. And what stuck with me, though, was that the little churches, the little centers, the towns, with a few people in them would never get a show like NewLight. They'd never see this sort of thing. And like this was their only chance. And so why wouldn't we do that? And that really did stick with me. And I'll get back to that a little bit later. One of the other memories that stuck with me was seeing my first green skies somewhere in the Midwest in Tornado Alley. That was a little terrifying, but nowhere near as terrifying as this. I was standing in a Taco Bell. We'd been dropped off in a mall parking lot, and I didn't want to eat the ham sandwich that I got from the host family. And so I went into a Taco Bell, and I'm standing there reading the signboard, and I'm like, I want this, do I want that? And all of a sudden, what sounded like right next door, this air raid siren goes off. Now, consider that we were right in the middle of the Cold War, and I'm a Canadian, right? So I'm like, I don't even belong here. And I started to panic. I thought, here I am. I'm only 23. I'm going to die in a Taco Bell. We're all going to be blown to bits. I started to cry. I'm gonna die in a Taco Bell. I don't want to die. I'm only 23. I haven't been married yet. Blah, blah, blah. And this guy turns around. The guy in front of me turns around and he says, sir, what's wrong? Can I help you? And I said, I'm going to die in a Taco Bell. He says, what do you mean you're going to die? Oh, that's an air raid siren. And he says, that's not an air raid siren. That's a lunch bell. That's the siren that tells us it's lunchtime. And I'm like, I'm sorry for making you feel so uncomfortable. And he's like, that'll be okay. Don't worry about it. Oh, anyway, so that was a long story for that. Oh, what else? Water skiing in the Mississippi. That was a real highlight. Going to, what's that place called? Opryland. That was fun. I liked that too. stuffing myself pre-concert on sweet and sour crock-pot raccoon. And I remember all the girls going, I just couldn't eat it. I couldn't eat it. I just remember seeing that, in my mind, I'd see the little raccoon going, no. Man, I'd eat anything. When I was 23, I'd eat anything. I must have gained 20 pounds on that tour between the Taco Bell and the raccoon and all that excellent food that I had down there. Let's see, where am I going with this now? Musical advice that stuck with me. Oh, this was brilliant. Short consonants, long vowels when you're on the mic. That was absolute brilliance. I still do that today. I still advise other people to do that today. It's a game changer, absolute game changer. Brilliant. What else? Oh, here we go. Performance advice. Okay, so one night after one of the first concerts, Dan took us puppeteers aside, and Dan was pissed. He said not only was Hopeless looking homeless, right, but Rusty, his left eyebrow was velcroed about halfway up his forehead, and the other one was like gone entirely. And yeah, I mean, taking care of show props, just not on my radar at 23. I mean, I'm still thinking about Taco Bell or Raccoon Supper. But to circle back, back to the underserved communities and areas, I think making conscious choices as to who my audience has been over the years, and how to best serve them. Really, it wasn't on my radar at 23. It wasn't on my radar until I was maybe about 40, and I realized, you know what? That's exactly it. And it's important to do, whether you're religious or not. It's just the right thing to do. Anyways, I'm getting preachy. Since NewLight in 1985, I've had a lifetime of musical experiences. I've done stage musicals, and I've been in bands and church bands, other bands. I've been a lounge crooner. Yeah. I've cut a jazz CD in 2011 that I'm pretty proud of. I've done hundreds and hundreds of private parties. I'm still singing with big bands. I'm still involved with a touring Patsy Cline group. And since 2011, I've done probably north of 1,500 shows on the local seniors entertainment circuit. Now, singing for seniors and adults in care is a good gig, but it's not lucrative by any stretch. Hey, I got a good one for you. Two musicians are walking down the street. One's playing a bass clarinet, and the other one, he doesn't have any money either. I'd like to say that I hit the big time when I sang for 40,000 screaming people at a Jesus Fest, but no, it's just a number. I'm more likely to be experiencing true fulfillment singing for 6 or 7 Alzheimer's patients in the Veterans Hospital, like that's kind of where the underserved thing comes in too, right? Because it's the right thing to do. It's the human thing to do. Speaking of numbers, like I said, I'm 63. I've seen a life. I've had the stuffing kicked out of me a couple of times, but I'm still here. I'm still daft, but going about. That's kind of an East Coast saying. I'm still singing and performing more now than ever, and I think probably better than ever. I'm having more fun than ever. Anyways, I don't talk too much about the tour with my musical friends because it can sound a little pretentious. But the truth be told, I do think about it pretty much every day. It was quite an experience. I mean, come on. Throwing pimento Velveeta ham sandwiches out the window at highway speed.
No, shut the window.
And that horrible crunch when we busted Barnabas's holding tank spigot off on a curb just as we were exiting a church parking lot, and then of course leaving everybody's yesterday's business all over the road. I mean, come on, that was a priceless life experience. Sometimes you just have to cut your losses and move on. But I did pity poor Jay, Mr. Fix-It. Oh, that was yucky. Anyways, on that lovely note, have a nice time reminiscing, folks. I wish that I could be there with you, but it's just not a great time to be crossing borders. I send my love from Canada, the true north, strong and free.